instruction, golf news, equipment, travel, interviews, course profiles, and more. Your weekly fix of all things golf is about to begin. It's the Flagstick Podcast with your hosts, Jeff Potter and Scott McLeod. Well, welcome everybody to yet another episode of the Flagstick Podcast. I am Jeff Potter, and with me, as always, is Scott McLeod.
G'day.
And the Flagstick Podcast is brought to you this week by Canadian Pro Shop Online. They have the gift of golf everyone is talking about. Introducing the Clubhouse Golf Box, an amazing gift for the golfer in your life. Loaded with amazing products from top brands, simply choose the essential or premium box, choose the ship date, and we will fill the box with amazing products to ship it to you or right to the lucky recipient. Gift giving made easy. Get yours and browse for other great gifts at Canadian Pro Shop Online. I'm all in on that.
I like that.
All in on that.
Yeah.
Canadian Pro Shop Online, putting the box of gifts together for you.
That's
shipping it right to us.
So much easier.
Like, I'm sorry, but
sold.
Thanks, Buddy Lee at the Canadian Pro Shop Online for coming up with a great idea.
Where do I drop the address?
Exactly.
How are you, Jeffrey?
Well, I'm good, but before we get into that, Scott, how I am and everything, we just want to make sure that everybody is following across all social media networks, Instagram, X, and Facebook, TikTok. Subscribe on Spotify, Audible, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and we do encourage you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like us and click the notification bell to make sure that you never miss a single episode. Okay, now we can talk about me. I'm doing good. A few unwell people in the household, but everybody has that this time of year. It is what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm off to Pembroke this weekend to
Pembroke,
fulfill yet another weekend of hockey coaching tournament duties. As in my role as a non-parent coach. Very different for me this year, but last away tournament. Well, not necessarily. If we win the tournament this weekend, then we move on to the Silver Stick Finals. So
wow,
really love for the boys to get this win this weekend and get that extra tournament in January. So.
Now, for people who don't know, Pembroke, Ontario is in the Upper Ottawa Valley, north of Ottawa here in Canada, but it's also famous from a golf perspective. Worldwide, because basically we've got a famous golfer, Alexis Sterling Fraser, who is actually buried there. I thought you
were going to say famous golfer Dan Shields.
No. Dan would love that if we said that about Dan.
Infamous.
Dan, if you're listening, we love Dan. Dan, the owner of two fabulous golf facilities, including a historic one in the Pembroke Golf Club. But it is actually the burial place of Alexis Sterling Fraser, who was the childhood friend of Bobby Jones, and ended up coming up to Canada and was a great Canadian champion. And so if you don't know who she is, look her up. And hard to believe, but her gravesite is actually in Pembroke, Ontario.
Well, there you go.
Things you never thought you'd
know, but could come up on a trivia test sometime.
Yeah, exactly. Which I'm thinking about that trivia. I'm thinking about sometime. We're talking about some stuff we're doing for the YouTube channel and things, and I've got some reviews and things that are going to go up there soon. I'm thinking about maybe even doing. Let's get some feedback on this. Thinking about doing a live sometime where we do trivia.
Oh,
which could be fun.
Could be a lot of fun.
So anyways, give us some feedback if you think that's a good idea for us to do some lives, or even if it's me, if you happen to be off doing some other stuff, I can run that show. But maybe some lives on the YouTube channel at some point. So give us some feedback on that.
Put the questions up, to see
that.
And then with the answers highlighted. And...
there's lots of stuff that we can do there. So
I like it.
All right. Let's get to
I'm all game for that. Okay, let's talk about let's get into some show.
Yeah, what we got going on?
Well, what we got going on is a crazy, awesome, good show once again. Front nine, as always, we will catch up on latest news and topics and so forth, including some Q School updates and some talk from the Hero World Challenge.
Oh, is that going on?
Somebody
big playing?
Oh, smallest field on the PGA Tour all year long, and probably gets more talk than a major. rightfully so, I suppose, right now.
Yeah, for sure.
On the back nine, we are joined by Canadian veteran Dan Marsh to talk about his experience in the Caddie School for Soldiers program. You did an interview with Dan, and we have that interview ready for everybody in the back nine. But let's get at the front nine first before we can get to the good stuff in the back nine. The front nine presented by Metcalfe Golf Club, a natural setting, a pleasant challenge. Of course, golf season is over.
What?
Yes, but it's time to plan for next season right now. Get a membership, join one of the leagues, or get your name on the list for the leagues. Wait lists are normal. Purchase some game packs and be ready to hit the first tee in the spring. Visit metcalfegolf.com to shop for those things now. Lots of gift ideas there too.
Definitely.
It is that season. It's gift ideas.
I know.
Everything's a gift idea.
Everything's
This piece of paper
is a gift
idea for somebody in my family this year. This USB drive, this is a re-gift idea. I'm just going to clean this off, wipe it clean, put it in a little box, like a jewelry box kind of thing with a little soft cotton ball in behind it. And I'm going to give it to somebody. It says, here's a USB. They're not going to know that there was something on it.
Are you a late gift guy or an early gift guy?
Oh, I'm late. I mean, I don't even think. I mean, actually, I'm a mid.
I'm mid. So you're not the Max Milk at midnight.
No,
okay,
that's you.
Right. No, it's not.
Oh, sorry.
Not one bit. I've never. Well, maybe.
That's Jim. That's your old partner, Jim.
That's it. Yeah, that's exactly it.
Now I'm certainly Jim is not like that now. That was a long time ago where I remember that story. But I digress.
Yes, exactly. So
I digress.
I just wondered. I mean, we're about to turn into the December, obviously.
I know.
Which is hard to believe. There's a couple of things coming up actually before we even get to some of our news and talks. A couple days from now, we're actually going to mark our 15th anniversary on Twitter or X. Believe it or not,
crazy.
That's 75,000 plus tweets, posts on there. That's insane when I think about it. It really is.
75,000 X's.
Yeah, posts. They're posts. They're not
whatever.
X's. They're posts.
Musk can call them whatever he wants. They're tweets.
Yeah, but isn't that crazy?
It is crazy.
Yeah. So
75,000.
Yeah, wow. And we love our community that are on there, the people that are on there. We've actually met a lot of great people through there, and I'll probably do something as we head to that day. I'll probably do some things on that particular day. I think it falls on the 5th.
Okay,
I'll
cool idea.
That. So yeah,
I like that. I like that idea.
Anyways,
yeah,
lots going on this week.
Yeah, there's tons going on. But
we say that every week.
Yeah, well, golf never stops.
No,
and it's which is kind of indicative if you look right now of obviously our new back nine sponsor this week, Celtic Golf Center, is it's just one of the facilities out there too that is pretty heavy into the indoor golf. Indoor golf is really, 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 really big right now.
Yeah,
and it's insane. I mean, I remember the old machines that we used to do it on, where they were the old party machines.
Oh God!
You were just hitting a ball into a pitcher. Yeah, into a pitcher, and it would transfer. The light would transfer. Like, I don't know what the hell it was, like crazy.
It was bad.
And then there were the systems that ran the old Lynx 365 or 386 machines that you used to play on your computer. Yeah. And they ran them, and that was sort of the first of the real sim golf. And you think of it now, you're standing on the tee in some of these simulators, and I was out at Andy's place at Celtic Golf Center, and I'm standing on these sims, and I'm just looking, going, my God, like literally, if you had one of the ones, and I mean, this would be the full like surround ones, an
immersive screen,
you'd feel like you really were on the golf course, just the way you get that feeling enough as it is, but holy crap.
Yeah. No, it's good. And I think I mentioned that last week. I think we've got to the point now.
Well, you would know, of course.
No, but I've the amount of screen golf compared to outdoor golf participation. Hey, I don't hit. Anyways,
La, la, la.
the amount of screen golf compared to outdoor golf is obviously increasing. In North America, we're starting to get to a point where it's almost 50-50. We're seeing that many rounds and that much participation happening. Whereas we look at countries like Korea, where there's more screen golf than there is outdoor golf, and yeah, it's become a a golf adjacent activity. And it's for a number of reasons. Obviously, it's a proven concept now, so
Yeah.
people know it can be successful. We're going to see some markets that are kind of overbuilt at some point, and there's going to be too much competition. But the cost has come down, the quality of the product has gone up, familiarity with the general consumer has gone up. They have more faith in the product. Better players are more accepting now, whereas you look at those old systems, and if you're a good player, you'd show up and you'd like, yeah, it was okay to go and hang out, maybe have a beer with the gang or whatever like that, but it's not really very realistic. Whereas now,
Pretty
it
realistic.
yeah, it obviously mimics it a little bit more. So yeah, but yeah,
I
Andy's
do
got a
agree
great
on
take.
that my biggest fear is oversaturation of the market, because
Mhm.
essentially this is what happened to the golf. I mean, I'll speak to the Eastern Ontario region, which is our region, and how pre-COVID, we were saying how much there's too many. There was always this discussion of too many golf courses and not enough golfers to fill them, and
Right.
that was the big deal. And then
Now it's the other
post
way.
COVID, we're kind of saying, okay, well, maybe there's now not enough golf courses to satisfy, or during COVID, I'll say, where there
Right.
was not enough
Yeah.
golf courses to satisfy the demand. I'd say right now we're probably right on level where we should be with the number of golfers to the number of golf courses. And the hope obviously is that we don't trend back to where we were before, where we start saying that, golf courses start to empty out a little bit more, not enough people joining, and you end
Yeah.
up with too many golf courses and not enough members. Well, I'm hoping that with the indoor golf market, that not everybody just looks at, oh, I'm going to open this facility with a, full service this and this and this. And it's like you're in a market where there's already 10 others.
Right. I think
And
what's
you
gonna
think that just because yours is better that you're going
yeah.
to be busier, but that's not always the case.
No, and I think, just general business principles will have to kind of come into play there as far as,
Funny
service
that.
levels. Yeah, funny that. Obviously knowing the exact market that's there, proper marketing, proper, service levels. Like there's so many things that go into it. Yeah, it's not a matter of, the people that just think they'll just open the door and the money will just come flowing in and I know there's a few of those right now across Ontario. I know of some situations where there's people that are getting open that have no idea what they're doing. They're making an assumption that it's a 365-day a year business, which it is not. As our buddy Andy will tell you, you have about 150 days a year
Yeah.
to really make things happen. So as we said, just like any business.
Well, it's the golf. It's the golf season in reverse. Is exactly
Yeah.
what it is. I mean, golf courses do not have 365 days to make their money in this
Right.
climate. They
Yeah.
have, if they're lucky, they have April, and they have through till October to
Yep.
bring in some revenue. Really, April to like September to really bring in some serious revenue, and then that's it. And then it's
Yeah.
time off, which is much needed time off in this industry as well, because you are killing yourself for those times. But then the simulator indoor golf sim starts up in sort of late October, early November, and runs through until the end of the middle of April, end of March, middle of April, and then it fizzles out and really has not much business going on.
One of the advantages that I'm seeing, especially for the golf course they're doing it, and I was actually talking to one of our friends who's a clubhouse manager in the area, and we were talking about their staffing, their HR issues that happen, and they have so many staff that come and work at their golf club during the summer, and then basically they go off to another job, and you don't know if they're going to come back. So for some of them, having the maybe the clubhouse open, having some other amenities like the sims and so forth, they're able to retain that staff year round. So there's other purposes for it from a from a business side of it. So there's definitely some advantages for some clubs that way. And we're even seeing some clubs look to do some offsite stuff. So down in Belleville, Trillium Wood is actually doing a place called the Golf Lounge
Yeah, I saw that.
downtown. They've got a couple of track bands down there. And then, at one point or at some point, they'll look to transition and probably build some sort of facility out at their golf course to make the business out there. But, they've got some expertise in there. It will help some of their staff to be retained sort of in the wintertime. They can do some other things. So yeah, it's an interesting new element to the business.
Yeah,
And I
100%.
think we've spent probably enough time on that today. Yep. We got a lot of other stuff we got to get to here.
All right, let's talk about Q School. I guess we'll we'll talk about the
LPGA.
Yeah, we'll talk about the LPGA right now. What's happening, Scott, on the LPGA Q series?
Yeah, so we're at the start. The Q series actually starts today in Alabama, down in Mobile. Golf courses we're
Mobile, Alabama.
With. Yeah, at the crossings, and I was trying to think what the other name of the other course was. Anyways, we played them both. We played the 36 when we were down there years ago. 104 players have made it to the finals. There are 3 Canadians in that Q series: Elena Sharp, Maddie Zarek, and Savannah Gruel. Elena and Maddie are there based on they're between the 101 and 150 at the LPGA. The points for this year, so that's how they're getting access. Savannah worked her way up through qualifying to get there, and she just turned pro, so that's a tough go. I think she's one of only 5 or 6 players that have gone through every stage, so that's a tough go. That is a grind. So 6 rounds. There's a 4-round cut that will come at the end of Sunday. Cards will be handed out on Tuesday. Top 20 will advance to the LPGA, and then 20 to 45 get sort of Epson Tour status. That's the easiest way to put it. Everyone else beyond that does get some Epson Tour status, but it's in a lower category, so it doesn't mean they're guaranteed as many starts. But good luck to the 3 Canadians competing there in Alabama. And then quickly on the men's side, there's 7 Canadians. They've been playing for 2 days now in stage 2. This is the last of the stage 2 qualifiers. There were 8 originally, but David Hearn withdrew before that. And I can tell you quickly that like Jared Dutois and Stuart McDonald, who are out west at the California site, they're both within the top 10 right now. They're actually T2, T7, but they're going to have to be T13 and ties to advance out of there. And it's even rougher when you head over to the site in Georgia. It's actually T12 in ties, and that's because there's a fair number of players that have pulled out of the competition. So as a result of it, the number of spots available is a lot tougher. And over there, Thomas Giroux is in that top 10 right now, and Sudarshan Yelamarju from Mississauga is also in the top part as well. And Jimmy Jones and Michael Gligic are not too far behind. AJ Ewart has some work to do over there. So I mean, with those tight scoring, a T12 or whatever, you might have to be like the one, the top player.
Yeah.
To get within it, you might have to be within a couple strokes of that in those fields. So it's going to be a tough go for those guys to get through. And then finals will start in a couple of weeks or so. We'll see who's going to be there at that point. We'll give you updated on that.
Cool. All right, the Hero World Challenge. Guess who's back? Back
Wheels
again.
Zalatoris. Yay! Wheels
Tiger's
Zalatoris.
Back. Tell a friend.
Are you gonna
guess who's back? 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 That's my Eminem. That's my Eminem Shady's Back rendition. I could bust out the whole thing. I should have wrote like a parody.
I'm so gonna clip that and put that on our Insta story.
I figured that. I figured that was coming, but I don't mind.
20 players, 20 of the top players. Obviously, the host being
Big
Tiger
field.
Woods. Yeah, well, I mean, it's an invite. It's a little special thing.
I know.
Good
place for him to come back. But
Albany, yeah, easy walking, so forth. Thoughts? I mean, Tiger did his presser on Tuesday.
I heard it. I listened to his presser. I listened to the whole thing. I listened to everything that he had to say about everything. Yeah, no, I was pretty impressed with even as far as his game goes. Yeah. I mean, dude's realist. I mean, he's a realist.
Yeah.
He's honest. He never
Well, he better
plays a
be.
tournament that he doesn't think feel like he can win,
Right.
regardless of whether he realistically thinks his game is in a position where he can win.
Yeah.
And they ask him, if he thinks he can win, it's yes. I mean, it's a field of 20 players. I mean,
So
he did win this one before.
he's won it 5 times.
So I mean,
I did a poll
you did a poll,
whether Tiger will finish in the top half or bottom half.
right?
What do you think what
I
were the
think most people
percentages?
thought he'd finish in the bottom half.
Yeah, 67% in the bottom half.
I clicked. I did. I
Did you?
took the phone. Yeah, I
You're in the
took them.
poll. Nice.
I said he was going to be in the top half, and I stand by that.
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised by it for sure. I mean,
It's only 20 players. I mean, he's only
it's
got
only
to beat 10 guys.
yeah, and I mean, 10 other guys can be playing poorly or have out for too many drinks in the Bahamas. I mean, it's a casual type event or
Mojitos.
whatever. It could be. What's your thoughts on how Tiger looked? Did you see some swings?
Saw some of the swings. I mean, the swing looks fine. I mean, the swing looks. The swings that I saw, you don't see that. You don't see the raw power in the swing like
Yeah,
you used to. Like that, you don't
right.
see that the speed of the swing as
Of
much.
course. Yeah,
But I mean, that's normal. But he still hits it. I mean, he's still hitting it great.
yeah.
Um, I don't know. Things look pretty good to me. I'm not the golf pro, and nor do I analyze his. The big thing, obviously, this is his ankle.
Mhm.
Was a big issue here. So
Yeah.
you know,
I think he looks pretty good overall. Like you said, doesn't have the speed as much. Big difference too between some of the clips that maybe we saw in the range, and then I actually saw this morning some clips taken by a lady who used to play on the LET tour, who actually was walking with him during the Pro-Am yesterday,
mhm.
and there was a one swing with the wedge that actually looked really, really good. Like I was shocked of the speed within it and how it looked. Reportedly, he was probably even par yesterday, 2 bogeys, 2 birdies. Obviously, it's just a pro-am, so he just, conserving energy and kind of batting it around. But if he gets that putter going, who knows? So again, we go back to what we talked about, last couple of weeks, not putting big expectations on this guy. The fact that he's there, fabulous. I mean, they're going to have more
Yeah, for
eyeballs
sure.
on this than they ever have or ever, haven't had in years. But
Nobody moves the needle like Tiger Woods. I
oh
mean, that's
God,
so the
no,
bottom line is
no,
it is for all of the great golfers that are out there.
yeah,
And we've talked about this before about the level of parity in professional
mm-hmm.
golf right now. Tiger shows up to play, whether
Oh,
he's capable of winning or not.
yeah,
Tickets sell out. Everybody's
mm-hmm.
going to tune in. It'll get more TV time, more TV audience than a football game. Like
Yeah,
it's Tiger Woods. So, and especially in the nature of him coming back,
yeah,
it's that much that much bigger. I did
yeah,
like the fact that he said that he hopes to play probably once a month. I
yeah.
thought that was good. I mean, obviously,
That aligns with all the majors and the Players Championship. I mean,
mhm.
there's a natural schedule that's there now, but that tells us that he's obviously probably trying to play in all the majors next year.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I mean that's promising as far as his intent. He knows what he sort of wants to do, and what's weird about this is that we're getting all these extra chances to get to see him, right?
hmm
Obviously came back in 2019 and then other times coming back. We never know what's going to happen. Obviously the 2 starts earlier in the year here, which didn't really work out too well, especially, kind of at the Masters where he had to withdraw. But I think I'm feeling more and more melancholy. Feeling more and more I don't know how to put it. Just nostalgic, I guess, about him playing,
yeah,
and actually him coming back and playing now started to make me think about the first time I got to see him play live back in the old Disney tournament, and being down in Orlando and having to be 3 holes ahead to be able to see,
Yeah.
the crowd, or being on the range, and all of a sudden, Tiger leaves and all the grandstands empty out, and
Yeah.
I still remember David Duvall just standing there going, where'd everyone go? Because everybody's gone and jetted out there. And,
That's
and you're
funny.
right. He just moves the needle, and,
Yeah.
it's going to put a lot of eyeballs on here, but,
Yep.
you hear him talking more and more about his legacy, and things, why he's there and why it's important for his foundation and all these different things. And, he's definitely saying all the right things, but I like you. I like the fact that he's being very honest about what his expectations are. The fact that he said he doesn't know what to expect either, as far as, he hasn't put a pencil to paper. But yeah, we can just sit back and enjoy it. And I know a lot of eyeballs are going to be glued to the TVs today and over the next 3 days, because obviously no cut.
Well, I don't know what, and I don't, we can talk, we'll talk about this more next week, obviously, after it happens, but
Sure.
I don't know if what he's doing by getting more involved in the PGA Tour and particularly the board,
Mm-hmm.
if he's truly trying to help mold where the game is going, where the tour is going, and to kind of keep the stupidity from happening,
Mm-hmm.
or if it's an ego thing. I haven't quite decided for myself whether he's doing it because he's Tiger Woods and
Mm.
this is what he wants to do, or if he truly feels that he can fix by being connected with it in that at that level, that
Mm-hmm.
he can stop the crap from happening, make sure that it happens the way it should happen so that it's all good for the tour and for the players. So far, it sounds like that's the way it's going. And time will tell if because Rory was heavily involved too. And Rory kind of, you know, did a lot of good things, but Rory also made a bit of a mess of things with,
Yeah, but Rory's, as Tiger, said, Rory was still trying to play the game at the highest level and do it, and it's really hard to do. Whereas
yeah.
Tiger's got more time to do other things, and I think at 47, there's a maturity about Tiger where, it is less about ego. That's never going to go away, as his presence and
No,
what
no,
it's
no. And nor
and what
should
it
it.
and what it's like. But I think he realizes that, if he can use that needle that we're talking about to help guide things, and he's going to get the attention of the boardrooms and everything else more than any other player
Yeah.
can. I think it's super important that he's involved there, and to make things happen that shouldn't happen, because it doesn't involve the players. And that's who was his biggest emphasis, is trying to keep it from the boardroom really controlling things, right?
Mm-hmm.
The people outside the game, and more the actual players themselves are having the voice in shaping the tour in the future. And players are obviously very much more open about going to
Yeah.
him, and saying, here's what we want, and here's what we need, and here's what we hope to see, versus those players maybe going to the executives or bureaucrats within the organization. So
Okay, enough about the Hero Challenge and Tiger Woods. We'll have plenty of time to talk about him next week
oh
again.
yeah oh yeah
Let's talk about the NCAA D1 men's golf event announced for 2024 in Canada. Scott,
yeah
we got a bunch of stuff to get through in about 7 or 8 minutes to get through it before we want
yeah
to take our break. So
Yeah, so this was actually announced by Golf Canada yesterday. It's been being put together for a little while here. It's kind of a twofold. So Golf Canada is going to conduct it. They're going to be the host. It's going to happen in Ovenbird next September in McTier, Ontario. It's actually co-hosted by Kent State and Penn State. So this is a men's event. Kent State, obviously, their head coach is John Mills, Canadian. Over at Penn State, Mr. Leon is the coach over there. So we've got two Canadians that are the head coaches of these programs, and then they're going to involve teams at U.S. teams that obviously have a Canadian connection. A lot of Canadian players, coaches, so forth. Let Notre Dame, Rutgers, for an example. They're all involved here, and then they also have a spot for the top men's team from the Canadian College and University Championships, which is really, really cool. So that's something for those teams to play for come May. And then the other benefits from this, obviously, there's NCAA tournament points and stuff like that. The champion of the tournament gets a spot in the 2025 RBC Canadian Open. Top 5 players will get a spot in the Canadian men's men's amateur. And then the next gen boys selection team will be held concurrently at the same time. So that's going to give an opportunity for those players to see these players in action and also expose them to all those coaches as well at the same time that are going to be able to see them. So cool news there. Look as well for a possible women's event and some other enhancements to the women's amateur schedule as well. That comes from Kevin Blue. Probably try to get Kevin on the show here for an interview at some point and talking about this, but nice little get for Canada to have that event.
Cool. All right. And the Ryder Cup, Luke Donald, and this is a little bit unprecedented. Is it not?
It doesn't happen. It's happened before, but doesn't happen too often. Used to happen more.
So Luke Donald has been given 2 more years as the captain of the European team, Ryder Cup team.
Yeah.
That will be held at the next Ryder Cup will be held at Bethpage Black.
Yeah.
And Luke Donald's given 2 more years. So he's back as the coach or the captain of the European team.
It's good.
I mean,
continuity.
Guy, it's a winning. It's a win. I mean, do you bring the coach back after winning the Stanley Cup?
Sure.
If you win, you win. I mean, unless there's a rule that says that it has to be a different person every 2 years.
No.
Why wouldn't you bring them back for another?
Yeah.
You know,
I think it's a great job by them. I mean, there's some continuity there as far as leading into Bethpage, which is going to be a very different situation than Italy. Going to be a lot more contentious, obviously, with the American fans and dealing with it. You don't have to do something new. You've got something that's already established. So he already knows what the process is like. He can just kind of smoothly run into that. The fact that they named it right now, that makes it easier as well. They can get that process going right away. The players know who that captain is. They trust and respect him. He's also respected as well by the American side too. So kind of that's important. So brilliant move by them, and why not? So
okay, cool. All right, the CPKC.
Yeah,
we're expecting a long-term deal to be announced with this tournament very soon.
Yeah, so a lot of people are wondering, where things stand with that tournament, and obviously their sponsorships and so forth. Indications from Lawrence Applebaum at Golf Canada is that they have a long-term deal in the works that they would expect to be announced quite soon. So I heard that. I forgot to mention it. Actually, I heard it last week from Lawrence during the State of the Industry GJAC seminar, and I wanted to pass that on to make sure the public knew that as well. So that's
okay.
That's great for that event. So
you're allowed to forget stuff once in a while.
Yeah, I am 53.
Yeah, well, don't remind me. The PGA of Canada is coming to Ottawa and hosting their education conference right here at the Chateau Laurier. And you mentioned that you're planning to stop by and catch up with some people and see some of the speakers. So I'm sure that'll be a great event this weekend.
Yeah, it starts tomorrow, and they've got some great keynote speakers. Mark Blackburn's in there, Lou Stagner, a few other ones. I've got a lot of stuff going on. Wife's birthday. Happy birthday, Michelle. So I won't be able to catch all of it, but hoping to stop in there for a little bit on Saturday, catch some of the speakers, catch up with some of the PGA of Canada colleagues, and we'll go from there. So good luck to everybody that's coming into Ottawa, and welcome.
Yes, welcome to Ottawa. Okay, we got to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to go to the interview that you did with Canadian veteran Dan Marsh, and he's going to talk about his experience in the new in the Caddie School for Soldiers program. So that'll be right up after we take this break. You are listening to the Flagstick podcast with Jeff Botter and Scott McLeod. Stay right there. The Canadian Pro Shop Online has all the best gear for Canadian golfers. Amazing prices on all the top brands in one place. The latest drivers, irons, putters, and more. The Canadian Pro Shop Online is the best gear to help you play your best golf. Shop online today at CanadianProShopOnline.com. All right, everybody, we're back here at the Flagstick podcast with myself, Jeff Botter, and Scott McLeod. And as promised, and as we will continue to do on many episodes of the podcast over the foreseeable future, is do some interviews, bring in some guests so that it's less of us and more of other people.
Hey, there's some
I
great.
don't know.
Look,
Well, less of me and more of other people, because even when we do an interview, you still get more of this guy. So
I know, but
it's
the thing is, there's so many great stories and
yes.
people that we run across and things that are out there. And, that's part of our mission here as well, is to share some of those stories. And, sometimes there's things that just don't get the publicity because they don't hit the marks as far as,
Well, these
PGA
are the
Tour or
things that we
LPGA
used to
Tour.
do with the
Hmm.
print version of the magazine. These are the kinds of golf human interest type stories, profiles, and things that we used to do all the time in the magazine that we obviously aren't doing right now or can't do right now. We can do them online, but there's a sort of, there's a difference when you can sit down and interview and verbally, as opposed to translating it into words, actually listening to the person or seeing the person in some cases talk about what it is that we're there to discuss. So it's much cooler. I think it's much cooler. But that said, you did an interview with Dan Marsh, and he is a veteran, Canadian veteran, and he participated in the Canadian Caddie School for Soldiers.
Yeah, so it's a Caddie School for Soldiers.
Caddie School for Soldiers. Sorry,
it's not just Canadian. It's basically from all over the place. But we'll get to that.
So. Yeah. So why don't you just set up this interview and then we'll get to it. But set up what this interview is all about for everybody.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, Dan Marsh is the Canadian military veteran. Neat background, which we'll get to there as well. Has some ties, obviously, into golf, and that led him, post military, to kind of looking for some different things to fill in his life. And he came upon this Caddie School for Veterans, had an opportunity to get involved. And not only did he get involved and be able to go and do the training, he got to go and do some real life stuff down at Cabot, Cape Breton, where we crossed paths a little bit virtually. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see each other in person when I was down there, but we don't mention it in this, but he's a huge fan of me and my golf, Andy Proudman and peers. And while I was on the Nest golf course down there, I was messaging back and forth with Dan, and Dan said, "Hey, do you know where those guys are?" And I'm like, "Yeah, they're right here with me right now." And we were able to do I was going to do a selfie and pass that on, but they ended up just saying, "Hey, put it on video and we'll record a video for Dan." So they recorded a video for Dan saying, "Hey, Dan, come down here. You should hear." And he ended up running into them the next day. So we don't get that into the podcast, but this guy's a huge golf nut. And, it's important to him to have golf in his life for particular reasons. And you'll find out. And being involved in this Caddie program is pretty special. And for those who haven't heard about the Caddie program, you're going to hear about it now from Dan Marsh. So sit back and enjoy this interview with Dan Marsh.
All right. I just want to make sure that people know that we're on the back nine of the Flagstick podcast right now. And the back nine obviously is presented by a brand new sponsor this week for this next little while. Celtic Golf Center and our good buddy Andy McWilliams at the Celtic Golf Center, located only 20 minutes from Ottawa in Kemptville. Celtic Golf Center is indoor golf on another level, featuring 5 state-of-the-art TrackMan simulators and 2 new Unicore simulators with GS Pro. Celtic Golf Center can offer over 10,000 golf course options, including many major courses and some with island greens and beautiful azaleas. Play rounds with your friends, practice with full swing analysis, or play golf games. Visit CelticGolfCenter.ca to learn more or to book tee times. And with that, let's take this back nine to another level. In this interview, Scott McLeod with Dan Marsh here on the Flagstick podcast.
All right, we want to welcome back to the podcast somebody who's been on before, talking in a whole different element. But today we're just talking about him and what he's been up to. And I think people are going to find it really interesting. Dan Marsh, welcome back.
Thank you very much for having me.
Let's start a little bit with an introduction, kind of let people know who you are, and we're going to get to a really cool story, one that I think is pretty powerful. But why don't you give us the rundown a little bit, where you're from, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, sure. So a bit of a crazy background story, I suppose. I'm originally from Montreal. I grew up in Hong Kong. I spent about 10 years there until I graduated high school and moved to Victoria, British Columbia. Attempted to get through university in kinesiology there, and decided that wasn't going the way I wanted it to. So I ended up joining the Army in 2005. and I was a part of the Princess Patricia Canadian Light Infantry Regiment for a number of years, did a deployment in Afghanistan. On my way back from Afghanistan, I learned of a new Special Forces unit, which I applied to and was selected for. And I was there until 2016, at which point I retired from a number of injuries, PTSD, hips, knees, that sort of stuff, and moved to Ottawa. So I've been in Ottawa since 2016, just kind of floating around. I'm now technically fully retired. And I got into kind of just golf stuff afterwards, once I kind of really
just kind of got into golf stuff.
Well, honestly, it's funny because I've been playing golf for, I don't know, 20 odd years. I shouldn't say playing golf. I was trying to play golf for like
Sure.
about
We're all trying to play golf. That's the reality of it, right? It doesn't matter how good you are.
Yeah, exactly. And I'd sort of put the clubs away for a while, and I was working at a local gym called Mavati, and I became good friends with my buddy Mike Germain, and he kind of reignited my golf passion, and of course all the swear words that go with it, because expectations are always dramatically higher than.
And how deep was that golf passion? I mean, you say you started like 20 years ago, but I mean, were you somebody who played a couple times a year, or were you like the all out, I've got to play all the time? Let me know what the scope of that passion was.
Okay. So, I mean, it all kind of started when I was like, I don't know, probably around 13, 14 years old.
Okay.
I remember playing in I think it was Deer Run out in the Muskoka area. And I remember playing with like my aunt and my uncles, my dad. I think it was his first time playing, and I remember walking like along the line of one of my uncles who was like a really serious golfer, and he of course snaps and yells at me. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing wrong. So that was sort of the start of my golf journey. And when I moved to Victoria around about 17, 18, one of the things I used to do with my now deceased granddad was go out and play like 3-4 days a week, just to spend time with my granddad, right? And
Sure.
It was the little chip and putts and par threes, that sort of stuff. And every once in a while we get onto an 18-hole golf course. And I was a competitive athlete for a number of years. I played international rugby at a junior level out of Hong Kong. So take that for what you want. And so that's sort of where I started developing my passion, because my dad got right into it, and it would become a thing where when I would see my parents, because they were still living abroad, we'd go play golf. And my buddies would get into it and we'd all kind of play, but it was very much hack golf.
Sure.
And it continued to be hack golf up until I joined the military, and I really didn't play much in the military. And it wasn't again until I got out. So we're looking at almost 11, 12 years of a break, really, playing once or twice a year. But I loved it. I really enjoyed playing golf.
Was it a game that was always kind of on the back of your mind a little bit, even when you're doing a lot of other things? Was it that case for you, or not?
No,
Okay.
not at all. It was just something I kind of enjoyed doing, and thought I was good at it. really turned out that I was pretty terrible at it. But when I started getting back into it at Mavati, one of the other trainers who had come over from another location had brought a TPI screen. And so we'd all, for your listeners who aren't quite familiar with TPI, it's the Titleist Performance Institute. And I'd never heard of them before. And so, I was sort of sitting there, okay, well, how can I get new clients using this? Because I like golf. I go play with clients now. And so I tried to hack my way through TPI, not knowing anything about what I was actually doing. And so one day I was like, you know what? I gotta look up this TPI thing. I gotta find out what it is I'm missing here. So it just so happened that TPI level 1 was being run in Toronto, and it was the first time it had been run in Canada in like 2 years. And this is 2017. So right up before COVID, basically. And I got certified TPI level 1. I got certified level 2 TPI in the fitness world. So I started my own golf fitness business for a while, and and that's when I really just went down the rabbit hole. I was, I need more information, everything I could get, like K vests and swing monitors and everything I could figure out, because I just wanted to know how to improve my own game.
You're describing the last 30 years of my life, but anyway.
Exactly, right. I guess it's not all that an uncommon path, I suppose.
Yeah.
So as soon as I sort of went down that, I became known in my circles as the golf guy. And my last 2 years, have been pretty tough on the mental health and everything. So that's sort of been, my refuge now that I'm in retirement. And so, I'm deathly passionate about it. I don't love watching it as much.
Sure, but playing it, being outside, being part of it. Yeah,
exactly.
So I mean, explain that to me. I mean, we've had lots of different friends and stuff on the podcast in the past. Tom Martin, I don't know if you know Tommy down in Kingston here, a veteran who unfortunately was shot when he was in Kosovo by a sniper, and he explained a lot about what it did for him, especially when he was paralyzed for a couple of years, and mentally what it did for him. What's the special bond for you that makes it sort of stand out and makes it sort of, we'll call it therapeutic?
I honestly, I think there's a lot of things about golf that helps. I mean, number one, you're outside. Number two, you're getting exercise. There's a mission, if you like. The mission is to get around 18 holes with the lowest score possible. And I'm a very social person by nature, but I have a hard time with that nowadays. And so when I'm out on a golf course, I'm often going on my own. I get paired up with a twosome or a threesome, and I meet new people, and it's 4 hours of just, jokes and smokes and hanging out and talking golf. And so it gets me away from the day-to-day suck, if you
Sure.
like.
Yeah, the thoughts that are not so great.
Yeah, exactly. And so it really is just a wonderful way to explore healthier options for me, which isn't just going to the gym, listening to loud music and pumping iron.
Sure.
I find it boring anyway.
So let's see where that takes you. Obviously it evolves, you're playing a fair bit. There's a special program that you're involved in, and I'll let you explain it, but how did it come about for you? What was the attraction? And just take us there.
So the program you're referring to is the Caddie School for Soldiers, I imagine.
Correct.
That was brought to my attention about a year and a half ago by a good friend of mine, Nick Kerr, who is still in the forces. He does an amazing amount of volunteer work, helps a lot of veterans get connected with different programs, and if they need a medal, or he just really goes out of his way to help people out.
Yeah.
And he told me about this program, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've got to know more about it. And at the time, they were only the Caddie School was only running one program a year.
Right.
Okay. And their mission is to save veterans' lives. And I'll get into that in a minute. But what they do is they take 2 Canadian, 2 American, and 2 British veterans, and they fly them out to St. Andrews, Scotland, where they have their own lodging. And we're literally a 15-minute walk from door to door, from the clubhouse to the house in St. Andrews, where we learn how to be professional grade A caddies. And I'll share one quick story. We had an SAS guy come in to the house, because the house is actually brand new. We were the first class to go through program with this new house, which was sponsored by the Kohler Industries.
Wonderful.
So this guy, he wanted to kind of come out and check out the new digs, and he walks in and he says, "Boys, I want to tell you something." He was on the serial right before me. So he was on the March serial. I was on the May serial of 2023. And he looks at me, he says, "Boys, 3 months ago, I was living out of my car. I was estranged from my wife. I couldn't see my daughter. I had no job. I wanted to kill myself." Right? Big, huge, hulking SAS Special Forces operator, right? Cream of the crop,
Yeah.
And that's where his headspace was at.
Yeah.
And he looks at me, he said, or to us, and he looks at me and goes, guys, that was 3 months ago. Now I have a job, I have a house, I have a car, I can see my daughter, and my life has turned 180 degrees around, and I'm loving life.
That's awesome.
So when I heard that story and I heard that passion, I mean, obviously it fuels me moving forward to help other veterans, but you know, just to see the power of the camaraderie of, you know, military members from all walks of life, from different nations, coming together with that shared goal of let's learn how to be caddies. And you know, there's some suck involved. Obviously, you got to carry you got to hump a bag, and the course one, of course, is the only course that is not a true links course in St. Andrews. It was
sounds like the Dukes.
It is the Dukes. You're absolutely at the Dukes. And the Dukes side court, the Dukes course is absolutely fantastic. They are a truly tremendous organization that really go above and beyond to facilitate our program. And yeah, I mean, honestly, as I said to the mentors there, I hadn't had that many laughs and that many good times and that kind of come off my shoulders in years. I just felt like a brand new person.
Yeah, I should interject here. I mean, people maybe don't realize if they're not involved with the, you know, the kind of military community. You know, I come from a military family, and it's very difficult when people make a transition from military life, whether they're serving overseas or otherwise. They're used to certain regimented, certain things, and you're sort of, you know, you're in your own community. So unfortunately, when you transition out to, you know, civilian life, sometimes very difficult to find, you know, ways to attach yourself to real life, as we'll call it, and it's a real challenge. That's why I think some of these programs are super, super special, and you know, they make a big difference in people's lives for sure.
1000%. I mean, I think the one word I've been sort of beating the drum to is community since I've been home, because even here in Ottawa, I've been here 7 odd years now, and you know, I still don't have the community I would love to have. Right. And, you know, I found it instantaneously in Scotland. And then further to that, I found it instantaneously in Cape Breton at Cabot Cliffs and Cabot Links, because we have a bunch of guys that have graduated from that program that come on and work as caddies in Cape Breton there. So
take us through that transition, how you go for the Caddie School and all of a sudden you find your way to Cape Breton. I mean, did you kind of have an idea what was going to happen after you went to the Caddie School, what you were going to do with it, where you were going to go? I mean, were you just come back to Ottawa and trying to find a random bag someplace? But take us through that transition if you could.
Yeah, well, I mean, the terrible thing about, you know, golf courses in Canada is there doesn't seem to be that much of a demand for caddies.
Sadly,
it's not quite the same as in the States and elsewhere. You know, as much as I'd love to take credit for paving the way, you know, there have been a number, like I said, a number of veterans that have already come through the program and now work at Cabot. So there was a door that was already opened, and Cabot has been incredible with helping to facilitate bringing on veterans. I think they're, you know, I don't want to speak for Cabot by any means, but I think
yeah, no worries.
Appreciate having the veterans there and helping to give back to the veteran community. And I think that's, you know, probably true. I can't, again, speak for Cabot, but probably true for what's happening down in Citrus Farms and what's going to be happening in Revelstoke, et cetera. So, you know, those doors were already open by guys like Luke Sear, by guys like Sean Sutherland, who are both heavily involved with the Caddie School. And, you know, they've just done tremendous work opening doors for guys like me. So when I graduated, yeah, I mean, obviously, first thing I was like, yeah, I totally want to go to Cabot, this, that, the next thing. And then, of course, you know, the last 10 days of my trip to Scotland, I brought my wife over and we were, you know, trying to have a kid and wasn't really going too well. And sure enough, she gets knocked up in Scotland. So my immediate return to Canada was, oh, we're going to have a kid.
Yeah.
And so I didn't actually think I was going to be able to go caddying this year, but bless my wife. She is just the most supportive partner. She's like, I framed it as a fact-finding mission. What's it like going out there? How expensive is rent?
You're like every golfer trying to sell it to any spouse.
Yeah, right. Whatever I could do, right? So no, but she truly was so supportive and so helpful in letting me go, because obviously she's now 6 months pregnant, and so for a good month that I was in Cabot, she's going through the morning sickness, she's dealing with the dogs and dealing with the house, and it was not
Cursing at you
time for her. Here I am gallivanting over to Cape Breton, having the time of my life, and a little unfair for her, I'm sure, but it really was also a fact-finding mission. Like, I went there, we almost bought a house down there, wanted to know, and I was there same time you were, so it was late September, late August, September, October type time, and at that time of the year, a lot less people are coming in, the prices are coming down, and so and I'm new to Cabot, so I'm not getting all the double bag carries and double loops and this, that, the next thing. So, the money was round about what I expected it to be for that time of year. But yeah, so it was a bit of a bit of a flash in the pan. Like, I had one of the guys I graduated the school with was caddying over the summer there.
Okay.
And we're dying for caddies. Come on out. You'll be working right away. So I was like, babe, I'm leaving next week. And so I jumped in the car, drove for 2 days, got to Cabot, and sure enough, two days later, I was looping on the course. So
what were your first impressions? I mean, I always like to hear that from people, and that's one of the best parts, I think, of going to a place like Cabot for me, is seeing the place again through the eyes of people seeing it for the very first time. And what were your thoughts as you drove into town there?
It's small, very, very, very small, and I was a little shocked because you kind of have expectations in your head that it's going to be a major tourist destination and all these things, and you get there and there's like one grocery store, one gas station, like 10 bars, which is great. But the course itself was just spectacular right out of the gate. I was just humbled by how beautiful it was, and I think my first loop was the week before Hurricane Lee.
Oh boy. I
think my fourth loop was during Hurricane Lee. So, and the funny thing is, I'll tell you this, and I actually take a lot of pride in this, because I had one long bomber. We were on the cliffs, and the 16th hole there, the 16th hole, right? And this guy had been hitting from the tips all day long in hurricane force winds. And, from the tips, I think it was 170 yards, 175 yards, give or take, somewhere around there.
Yeah, looks about 400 if you're playing it into the wind.
Yeah, like tiny little landing spots and this, that, next thing. And this guy had been hitting sort of 300 yards all day. And I look at him, I'm like, all right, so you want to go from back here? And he's like, yeah. I was like, right on, players come to play. And so we talk about it, and I'm like, I think you need to take your 2-iron out. And sure enough, he's like, yeah, I agree with that. So he takes his 2-iron out and absolutely flushes it just dead straight right over the cliffs and puts it right on the green, right in the green side bunker, about 5 feet from the pin.
Wow.
I was like, I'm good. I'm done. This is it.
I have peaked.
It can't get much better than this, right?
Yeah.
I think on my very first 2 loops, I watched 2 guys lip out for hole-in-ones. I never actually got to see the hole-in-one from a player, but no, I mean, so, to answer your question a little bit more thoroughly, it didn't really matter what the weather was doing. Right. It was always beautiful. It was just always stunning somehow, like whether there was rays coming out of the clouds or black clouds on one side of the course and beautiful sun on the other, or the ocean pounding, or it just didn't matter. It just seemed like this is a place I want to be all the time.
Yeah, I was funny because when I was down there, and there was a person who works for Adidas, and she's like, "This is the church of golf," is what she said. And she, she said she didn't get a chance to play when she was down there, but she's like, it's not really golf; it's more like a religious experience when you're kind of out there. And I mean, I know there's other places like that in the world for golf, but we're blessed, obviously, have that here in Canada. Did you feel somewhat that way as far as spiritual, a little bit?
You know what? I mean, I don't know if I would have ever framed it that way, but now that you've said it, I couldn't agree more. I had a number of golfers who, and I'm sure, as you know, there's a lot of big money that comes to Cabot.
Sure.
So a lot of that big money gets to go to other great golf courses, and almost unanimously, they all were, especially the Cliffs, they're all just like, yep, this is either first, second, or third best golf course I've ever played. And they're comparing it to all the staples, right? Like,
Right.
Whether it's Pebble Beach or Augusta or whatever, they're just like, this place is just spectacular. I mean, where else do you go and get par five, as I like to call infinity fairways?
Yeah, it's
running into
not
the
infinity
ocean.
greens, infinity fairways. You're right.
Infinity fairways, right?
Yeah.
They're just, oh, that fairway is just going off into the ocean distance, right?
Yeah.
Every single hole just always had something. If you're pin seeking, you're in trouble. It's just such a beautiful, technical, forgiving, spiritual golf.
At any time while you're walking and caddying, and I know I find myself doing that when I'm playing there, but when you're caddying, did you ever find some moments where you just kind of stood there and went, how did I get here?
All the time. All the time. I took so many pictures. I have one picture that's just my absolute favorite, and it was actually not even of me, it was of my fellow caddy, and we're walking down to the 18th tee deck, and I just sort of stopped behind him and I took a picture, and you could see the whole coastline running from the cliffs all the way down to the links, and the sun was sort of setting, and it was just this beautiful picture, no filter required. And
Yeah.
I think it's been my backdrop on Facebook ever since. I just love it. Beautiful.
And did you get to play a little bit while you're down there?
Oh yeah, of course. Of course. Although it's funny because the first week I got there, I was like, yeah, okay, for me it was like $10 to go and play.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I'm like, I go play the cliffs, and I get through like the 10th hole because that's where the turn is. And I was like, I'm kind of done. I was playing on my own, and I was tired. So I was like, oh, I'll come back to this. I never got to play the back nine of the cliffs.
No.
Never got to play it. I was so upset. So I have to go back and obviously go and play the back nine of the cliffs at some point. But no, but I played the links probably 5 or 6 times. I played up at the Nest 4 or 5 times. And for only being there for 3 weeks, I felt like that was not the worst. So
yeah, that's pretty good. So what's the plan now for you in caddying? I mean, it's come into your life, it's now part of your life. Is it a chapter where you're just saying, okay, that was great, or is it something that will continue, and kind of in what capacity?
No, absolutely. I think there's a number of capacities that I'm looking at. Number one, obviously, is going back to Cabot at some point. Hoping next fall, depending on how fatherhood looks on me. Of course.
Sure, yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna have a 4-month-old at that point, so we'll see how it goes next fall. But I think the year after is certainly a year I'm looking at to go back, mainly because my wife is taking 18 months off. She really wants to spend a lot of time with the family, and the initial years of our son's life, and so that'll take a little extra cash in the pocket. So
Yep.
I think we're looking at potentially certainly going for a little bit more time summer of 2025. But in addition to that, I'm also getting more and more involved with the Caddie School as well. So they are looking at having me come on as a mentor when time suits. And I'm also in the process of running a golf tournament in Ottawa.
Okay.
And I'm hoping for that to be annual in August. And that's to raise money for the Caddie School for Soldiers and also other veteran organizations such as Warrior Adventure Canada to really help get these programs onto the map for veterans who are coming out of the forces in the same position as me, going, what now? What's next?
Yeah.
Having that lost sense of feeling and no community and whatever else. So I really want to hammer down on helping other guys get to places like Cabot. So that's sort of where I see myself going in the next few years.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty amazing. I mean, obviously you're sharing your story, which is great. And I'm sure there's, similar stories among the other veterans that are able to take part in this program. I think it's super, super special. Hopefully we can get you back on here even to talk more details as well of the tournament when you get that going. Obviously we'll help publicize that as well.
That would
Great
be
program now.
fantastic. I would love that.
Yeah.
You guys should come on out.
Well, we should.
Absolutely. You're invited.
Get me the details and I'll be there. One last question for you. Overall, what's your takeaway, last feeling, thought about spending time as a caddy in a place like Cabot?
Oh, wow. I think whether you are young, in 17, 18, 19, 20, and you're looking for a summer job and you're into golf, go do it. There are places to rent, not easy to find, but there are places to rent. If you're a veteran and you're looking for something to do, this is heaven. It couldn't be better. And honestly, that whole part of Cape Breton is like being in the Highlands of Scotland. It truly is. It's stunningly beautiful. There's great seafood. The people are so warm and kind. The exercise is fantastic. The people are great. I never met one, snooty, uptight golfer. They're there to have fun, and by extension, you go out and you just have fun. So, I think caddying should be more of a staple here in Canada, personally, and I would love to see that profession grow here.
And if people do ask, do you mind if they reach out to you maybe about the program, especially if they're a veteran as well?
Oh, absolutely. If anybody wants to reach out and know more about the Caddie School for Soldiers, or what it's like caddying at Cabot, or if they want to travel down south to try their luck caddying, I'd be happy to answer any of those questions, especially for the veteran.
Well, there you go. That was awesome.
Cool.
What a very interesting guy.
Yeah.
And I can't see how anybody wouldn't have enjoyed that interview.
Yeah.
Thank you very much to Dan for doing that with you and bringing that to our audience.
And as he mentioned in there, he's got a tournament that he's putting together at Highlands for next year that's going to help with some veteran causes, including this Caddie School for veterans. So we'll get you more details on that as that plays out. Definitely want to get involved with that a little bit and help out. But thanks to Dan for that. We've talked to Dan before from a fitness aspect.
Yes.
Some things when he was involved in doing some things with another friend of ours. But this is cool to get his more personal story and realize how important golf can be to not only him, but a lot of people. And it provides more than just the benefit of putting a golf ball in the hole and a score on a scorecard. So thanks, Dan, and we look forward to catching up with you again.
Awesome. Well, Scott Mack,
there we go, Dad. That's
a wrap on another stupendous episode of Flagstick podcast. God, I can't throw any more.
I need coffee.
Yeah, this one's I got a little bit left in this one, but it's cold and now it needs to be warm. So, and I got to go pack.
Yes.
Pack what? I'm only going 2 hours away, and I'm only going to the rink every day, so I really don't pack much. But I do wear a shirt and tie when I'm behind the bench. So yeah,
fancy.
I am fancy.
See, that's the one thing I like about golf coaching is they not, I'm wearing obviously golf clothing, but no shirts and ties.
I don't think anybody would care too much if I didn't wear a shirt and tie and just did my jacket all the way up. But you know what? Sometimes you got to play the part. When you're coaching on the bench, you play the part a little bit more. When I'm on the ice, I'm in my coach gear, whatever. But on the bench, you got to look good. You want the players to come dressed in shirt and tie to the game. Well, then I guess it's the least I can do is put a shirt and tie on behind the bench.
There you go. Well, good luck to the boys.
Thank you. We got to get it done. Need a W. All right. Thank you to all our sponsors: Metcalf Golf Club, Celtic Golf Center, and our presenting sponsor once again this week, Canadian Pro Shop Online. They've got the gift that everyone is talking about, Scott, introducing, as we know, the Clubhouse Golf Box. An amazing gift for the golfer in your life, loaded with amazing products from top brands. Simply choose the essential or premium box, choose your ship date, and they're going to fill that box with amazing products and ship it to you or to the lucky recipient. Gift giving has been made super easy. Get yours or browse for other great gift ideas at the CanadianProShopOnline.com.
Good stuff.
Yes. Hopefully you are enjoying and hearing this, watching. Hopefully you're watching on YouTube occasionally. Be sure to follow us across social media networks, Instagram, X, TikTok, Threads, Facebook.
You can find us.
Yeah, we're around. Subscribe on Spotify, Audible, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel where you can see these two beautiful faces doing this podcast as well as a bunch of other stuff. Like us, click the notification bell, make sure you never miss a single episode. Get over to flagstick.com for more amazing golf content delivered every day, and make sure you subscribe to Flagstick Digest newsletter. It's free. It's
contest.
Yes, it's full of stuff, and right now we have a contest going on. If you subscribe to Flagstick Digest, your name goes in a draw to win a Cleveland RTX 6 wedge. Now, it doesn't get any better than this, so we're just going to keep doing this all winter. Like, all through the off-season, we're just going to keep giving you stuff.
You got it.
So, sign up for the newsletter. Not only are we giving you stuff, an option to win stuff, but we're also giving you stuff in that newsletter every week, 3 times a week. All right, that's all we got. As always, we appreciate you tuning in. Until next week, I'm Jeff Botter.
I'm Scott McLeod.
Always remember, go for the stick.